championships there. So there's a lot here to digest. And Wendy, we were going to get to the Lakers this morning and their sale and all of that. Let's start there. From the perspective of a basketball fan, the Lakers are the preeminent organization in the sport. What is the significance of this sale?
Well, Mark Walter and his group already owned 27% of the Lakers, so he's been part of the family for several years, and he had the right of first refusal if the Lakers ever sold. So we knew that someday if the Buses ever reduced their share, that it would likely be Mark Walter who took over, and that is what's going to happen here. Now, when he took over the Dodgers and his group took over the Dodgers, it transformed the entire team. They invested so much money. They revamped their front office, revamped all of their systems, modernized the Dodgers, and turned them into a multi-time world champion. Baseball is an uncapped sport. The NBA is a capped sport, so it's not just as simple as injecting money. However, from a overall standpoint, the Lakers are still definitely a family-run business. And over the last 15 to 20 years in the NBA, teams have been a lot more run like tech companies or private equity firms. And the Lakers have lagged behind in terms of infrastructure and other things of this nature. And this is where having extremely deep pockets now backing the team could make a major impact. I would think that while all NBA owners are thrilled today that their teams got more valuable with this purchase, that the Lakers potentially could become more formidable, and that could be bad news for them over the long haul.
Let's put up C10 if we can, Cindy. Just let's demonstrate exactly how successful the Dodgers have been since Mark Walter and company bought them in late 2011. They have the best record in baseball. They've made the playoffs 12 times, made the World Series 4 times, and won it twice. He takes big swings, trading for Mookie Betts, signing Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Blake Snell and many others. Now, as Wendy points out, that's an uncapped sport. Basketball is a sport with a salary cap, but having that kind of money behind an organization does matter. It does make a difference. Now, that said, when you hear Luka Doncic tweet, Markieff, and you know him well, you've played with Luka forever, or not forever, but you played with him in Dallas and then went with him to LA. When you hear him say, I look forward to working with them to win championships, what is your reaction to that?
I mean, that's right. Luka is the kind of guy that when he's bought in, he's all the way bought in. I think that, let's be frank, we was in prime position to win the championship this year, but we had a bad matchup in the first round. And, to even say that gives the fans, gives the organization a lot of excitement moving forward. And I'm excited to see how it plays out these next couple years.
Monica, what do you make of Luka saying, I look forward to working with them to win championships?
Saying all the right things. I mean, that's exactly what you're supposed to say as a guy that is going to move forward as the eventual face of the franchise when LeBron James decides that he's done playing professional basketball. Look, we all know underlying that is what level of commitment are you going to show up with, right? And so I think that this is an opportunity to see iron sharpening iron in terms of a big-time owner that's not going to waste or spare any resources, and hopefully that means to put everything around Luka that he has no excuse not to be successful.
Winman, and this is on me because I kind of buried the lead in the question, but the reality is that there is one very big piece of this that has to take place in early August before we can even start having these conversations. Here's Luka saying, I look forward to being part of the Lakers organization and winning championships. But as of this minute, that isn't even a done deal, right? Can you explain?
Yeah, so I'm a big actions over words person, especially in the NBA, Greeny, and this is where Luka absolutely can do that. So I would argue one of the most important things that is on the table for the entire NBA this summer is whether Luka signs a contract extension with the Lakers, which he can do on or after August 2nd. He can sign for 4 years and up to $230 million. He has some reasons why he may not want to sign for 4. He could potentially sign for 3. But the Lakers need to get him into that contract. And look, I think the Lakers are a great spot for him even before this ownership change. Now, I would tell him that with this potential new investment, you couldn't be on a better basketball situation in the world with the Lakers. Having said that, until he gets into that contract, there will still be a little bit of uncertainty about whether he's committed. So he has that chance very soon.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and that's important to point out here too, right? Like that the commitment going in both directions.
100%.
I mean, the Lakers have not. We talked about how they don't spend on coaches and all that sort of thing. I do not mean this. Look, the Buss family have been an integral, important meaningful piece of not just the history of basketball on the court, but just sort of the colorful history of the sport in so many different ways. And Dr. Jerry Buss was an icon in a million different ways. But the truth is, they haven't had enough money to compete with a lot of the other NBA ownership in recent years, and this completely changes that. And while fans don't like to think about that stuff because it isn't fun to think about, that stuff does matter, and it changes now.
I mean, Greeny, to your point, let's just shrink it down, right? The neighbors in LA. Right. Walmart is like loaded, and you see it in the new facility and the way they've gone and gotten coaches, the way they've maneuvered to make sure they've gotten stars. And so, yes, in terms of just being able to compete in LA still, like, this is a big move. And you're right, the Buss family brought this organization to a place where a guy like Mark Walters sees it as an attractive investment, and that's terrific. They deserve kudos for that. Now you've got the next crew to take it into the next chapter.
So, Keith, assuming that Luka does re-up, or if that's the right way of describing what he can do as of August 2nd, what is this team missing? What has to happen for the Lakers this summer for them to be playing this week, this time next year?
Ooh.
Well, I think ultimately, Luka does resign now. Is it 4 years? Is it 2 years? So ultimately, I think he will be there. What I think they need to make happen to the roster, I think it's minor tweaks. You know what I mean? You are in a position where LeBron has maybe 2 years left, and he's trying to win right now. So I don't think bringing in a ton of new pieces and kind of revamping the team makes a lot of sense. I think where they were this year, where we were really close to winning. So it's just minor tweaks. You may get a big here and there, but I don't think you move pieces to move core pieces to get a big and mess the team up, when in all reality, you only really need one big for the big fella Joker to be able to get to the final. So I don't think you want to put too much into that. I think you come back with the same core pieces, and you just add maybe a big, and you keep growing your team. You keep growing your team through working them out and just trying to figure out, like, what's the next steps.
Is it just little moves around the edges, or is there a big move that they need to make?
I feel like a center is a big move,
yeah.
But I do think that
both literally and figuratively.
Right.
Yes.
I agree with Keith, though, that they do seem to have a core. When you look at James, Reeves, Doncic, you're starting to get good minutes out of Hachimura. But the center, to me, is a big deal. They got to get somebody that can be bona fide in the Western Conference, where size is a thing.
Wendy, final word on that. What's the expectation?
If they're going to be committed to playing Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves together, in other words, they're going to keep those two guys on the perimeter, they just need more interior defense, because those guys are susceptible on the outside. So they need somebody who can defend. It doesn't have to be a blockbuster trade, but their team right now is not equipped to defend at the rim with the perimeter players that they are playing.
Somewhat remarkable, right? Like, while the NBA Finals are going on, we had Desmond Bain traded the other day to UC. We have the Los Angeles Lakers being sold. It's been a pretty busy week in and around the NBA's championship series, which continues tonight, and the O'Brien will be in the building. Thunder Pacers, Game 6 in Indy, 8:30 Eastern on ABC and ESPN Radio and ESPN Deportes. Coverage will tip with NBA Countdown at 8. We'll see if OKC can lock it up or Indiana can force a Game 7 on Sunday night. Coming up, fascinating comments from LeBron James. This before the sale. It's about the way